Daisy, come! Amanda called to her dog. The sound of her name perked her up from her sleep, and the puppy raced over to Amanda. She picked up the dog and started to head out the door. You should leave the dog at home, her mother said. No, Amanda said, shaking her head. Daisy has been cooped up inside. She needs to get out. But what about the rain? Her mother said, not liking her answer. There's reports of flooding and... Don't worry about it, Mom, Amanda said, cutting her off. The rain has stopped, and the rehab clinic hasn't called to cancel my appointment, so I'm going. Her mother pressed her lips firmly together, showing her disapproval. But her mom's opinion didn't matter. After all, Amanda was the sole breadwinner, and she needed to recover from her knee injury and get back to work. She also needed to get out of the house. Ever since she injured her knee at work, her movements were limited. The walls were closing in on her, and having daily close proximity to her mother was trying her patience. So, of all things, she actually looked forward to her weekly rehab appointments. Once this injury healed, she would finally get on with her life. The rehab clinic was an hour away, and as she drove, she started to feel the pressure in her knee. She was halfway into her trip when the sensation in her knee ballooned into a throbbing pain. She knew it was because of the cramped position of her leg. As the pain intensified, she was forced to pull into a rest stop to stretch her legs and to get a cup of coffee. When Amanda returned to her car 10 minutes later, her pain had subsided a bit. But she noticed her dog was acting strange. What's wrong, Daisy? She asked. The dog seemed antsy and was whining. Amanda let the dog out of the car. She grabbed her purse and pulled out a few pieces of dog treats. The snacks seemed to satisfy the young dog. After a few more minutes, Amanda looked down at her watch. "Oh man," she said. She had stayed at the rest stop longer than expected. Even if she left now, she'd be about 15 minutes late for her appointment. She ushered her dog back into the car and headed back on the road. She pressed her foot hard on the gas pedal to make up for lost time. But even as she tried to focus on driving, Daisy's whining and pacing in the back seat disturbed her. "Settle down," Amanda ordered, unable to keep the frustration from her voice. But the dog ignored her command. "I should have left you at home," she grumbled. But the dog was clearly unhappy, and she felt sorry for her. With her eyes still on the road, Amanda reached for her purse to give Daisy more treats. At the scent of the tasty snacks, the dog jumped onto the passenger seat, but in her haste, her hind legs hit the coffee cup from the holder, spilling the hot liquid onto Amanda's lap. "Daisy!" she yelled. She fumbled to get some tissue from the glove compartment to clean up the mess. But unfortunately, in her distraction, she neglected to see the flooded roadway up ahead. By the time she noticed the danger, it was already too late. Amanda started to put her car in reverse when the water flow suddenly increased. She felt the blood drain from her face as she realized she was caught in a flash flood. Her hands gripped the steering wheel, watching helplessly as her car became swept in the murky water. Her dog let out high-pitched cries, and Amanda joined in with her own distress. Her heart was racing and panic was starting to set in. When she left her home an hour ago, she didn't expect that this would be her last day on Earth. She wasn't ready to die, and neither was her pup. Amanda realized that she needed to get out of the car if they wanted to survive. She pressed the button to lower the window and was relieved to find that the switch was still functioning. She grabbed Daisy and climbed out of the car just as the water rushed in. She scanned her surroundings and discovered that she was stuck in the deepest part of the flood. The water filling her car was almost causing it to sink. She gripped the side of the door while her arm wrapped tightly around Daisy. What was she supposed to do now? The water was cold and Amanda felt the chill go straight to her bones. She wasn't a strong swimmer, and she was afraid to let go of the car. What if the dark water sucked her and Daisy in? This was it, her mind screamed. Even though she didn't believe in a higher power, she started to pray for the first time. Amanda wanted to live. She was still young and had her entire life ahead of her. She wasn't a perfect person and didn't get along with her mother, but her imperfection didn't warrant a death sentence, did it? Her limbs felt numb, and she was in tears as she posed her question to the divine. But when her situation seemed even more desperate, Daisy let out a couple of weak yelps. Amanda blinked and was suddenly aware of distant voices. She looked toward higher ground, and her heart jumped when she saw two men yelling at her. She watched as they threw a long rope into the rushing water. One of the men held onto the line and started wading into the muddy water, slowly making his way toward her. Meanwhile, his partner supported him by holding the other end of the cord. After several excruciating minutes, her rescuer reached her. He grabbed her around her waist. "Don't let go of the dog," he shouted over the roaring water. Moments later, Amanda found herself on dry land. She was wet and shivering. The second rescuer was ready for them and covered them with emergency blankets. "Are you all right?" he asked. Amanda nodded and looked gratefully at them. "Thank God you came when you did," she said. "I thought we were going to die." She kissed her dog on the top of her head and held her tightly against her chest. The men revealed that they were a part of a rescue team and were headed out to meet their unit when they saw her submerged car. "Luckily we were here at the right time and place," one man said. "I'm not sure if it was just luck," she said. In fact, Amanda was certain that it was divine intervention at play. But whether it really was divine intervention or not, these men had come at her time of need. And in the end, she was grateful that she and Daisy were still alive and given another opportunity to get on with their lives. What did you guys think of the story? Please comment in the comment section below. I can't wait to read your answers and discussions. Thanks for watching! And don't forget to like and subscribe to get the latest stories to warm your heart. Until next time, bye!